to all of you here in person, welcome. Good evening. If you'd like something warm or cold to drink, to eat, enjoy. To all those who are watching us live on Facebook tonight, we welcome them as well. And those who will watch this class in the future, we welcome them too. Before we begin our actual class, I want to dedicate our Torah study tonight, first and foremost. I'm sure if you watched the news out of Israel today, horrible. Another terrorist attack. 5 people were shot in cold blood by a evil terrorist. We dedicate our Torah study to the souls of those sacred and holy victims, to their families, and to all the people of the land of Israel, that God should bring them safety and keep them safe from any type of harm, and to bring finally the ultimate blessings of peace with the coming of Mashiach that we are so ready for. We're in the holiday, getting ready for the holiday of redemption. And maybe this year already, long before Pesach, Mashiach comes, and that will already take care of all of the people and all the Jews in Ukraine, and all those who are being affected by it, and all those throughout the world, all those who need blessings for complete and full, robust health, to be able to not only feel good, but to see all the good things around them too. And everything, all of us, whatever it is that we need, we should be blessed with it, and we're dedicating our Torah study tonight to all of those blessings. So, l'chaim, baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. So, unfortunately, you have many people right now that are running for their lives. They're leaving Ukraine. But the fact that people are trying to get out of what is known as the former Soviet Union is nothing new, right? So there was this Jew in the 70s who somehow was able to secure exit visas to leave the former Soviet Union and travel to America. And he actually had some money, he had some funds, he had a little business, and he decided he'll sell everything he has and will try to smuggle his wealth out of the country. What did he do? He figured he'll take everything and he'll buy 5 sets of gold teeth. This way, it doesn't look too suspicious, and he'll be able to have the gold, and when he comes to America, he'll pawn the gold and be able to start over a life with at least something. Now, customs in the former Soviet Union wasn't only when you arrived, it was also when you left. If you had the chutzpah to leave the country, they didn't let you leave with anything. So they searched him as he's leaving. And obviously, what do they find? 5 sets of gold teeth. So the agent asks him, "What's this? What's the deal with these gold teeth?" He says, "Listen, I'm a Jew. And I am very, very religious. I'm ultra religious. I am the most religious Jew in all of Russia." Okay, now what? He says, as you know, Jews, in the laws of kosher, we don't mix milk and meat. He says that's ordinary people, but I am so religious, I even have a separate set of teeth. I have 1 set of teeth for when I eat the meat, and 1 set of teeth when I eat the milk. Okay, the agent says, I understand that only explains 2 sets of teeth. What about the other 3? He says, have you heard about Passover, Pesach? He says, yes. He says, well, on Passover, we don't eat any chametz, any leavened products. So all of the food that I eat throughout the year is not good enough for Pesach. So I need another 2 sets of teeth, 1 that is kosher for Passover for meat, and 1 that is kosher for Passover for milk. You see, I am very religious. Not only all year round, I need 2 sets of teeth. I need also on Passover 2 sets of teeth. Okay, the agent says, I understand, but that only answers for 4 sets of teeth. What's with the 5th one? He says, I'm very religious, but I also enjoy a good ham sandwich every now and then. And I need a set of teeth when I eat my non-kosher.
Oy.
So, in that spirit, we should all be blessed with lots of gold, not necessarily in the shape in the form of teeth, but we should be blessed with everything that we need. And in that spirit, tonight we're going to do two things. The first, I guess, third of our lesson will be more of the practical, technical things for us to be aware of in preparation for Passover. And when it comes to the night of the Seder, what are the key, most important things to know, to try to do in the form of technical, practical observance of the Seder? That will be the first part of our lesson. The second part of our lesson will be getting into the heart and soul of the Seder. What is the central theme? What is the Seder meant to accomplish? And once we know what it's meant to accomplish, how can we go about accomplishing that? So we're going to talk about the spirit of the Seder, the spirit of the holiday, and we're going to tie it to specific elements within the Seder that we have something tangible to walk away with, that we can actually implement into our lives, that when we approach the Seder will be a completely different experience than anything we've had up until now. No matter how good it was up until now, this year could be far better. So that's what we're going to do. First technical, and then, I guess, inspirational. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. And all of us on Zoom, sound good? Excellent. Thumbs up. Okay. Very good. So with that, some important points to remember. Obviously, if whatever your Pesach plans are, like everything in life, the more you invest in preparing for it, the more meaningful it will be. When it shows up, or the holiday arrives and we just show up, it will happen, but we won't be as involved and as present in the holiday as if we invest time and effort and mind space to prepare for it. So that's number one. So there's the technical preparing, cleaning our homes and getting rid of any chametz that is in the house. Now, we also sell our chametz. Now, the actual transaction of the selling of the chametz takes place on the day before Passover. So the morning before the Seder, that's on April 15th, Friday, that's when the actual transaction takes place. The form that we sign that gives the rabbi the authority to sell the chametz on our behalf doesn't mean that we're selling our chametz now. We're saying that now I give you permission that on Friday, on April 15th, in 3.5 weeks, or yeah, that's what it is, 3.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks, yeah, thank you. 2.5 weeks, you'll sell it then. So no reason to wait until the last minute to sign that form of the chametz sale. The earlier you do it, the better it is out of your mind, and it's taken care of. That's number one. Now, if you're going to be joining us here at Chabad for the community Seder, that would be wonderful. It's also a good idea to RSVP sooner than later, because when preparing for an event, it's always better to know beforehand, and obviously everybody's invited. If you're going to be having your Seder with your family, with friends, I want to encourage you, in addition to the class that we'll have today, to try to study, prepare. Obviously, if you go on chabadminneapolis.com/Passover, there's a full wealth of classes and articles to read and things to watch and to listen to, all different styles of ways to be able to learn to prepare for Passover. So that's that. Now, regarding the actual Seder night. So it's Friday night and it's the holiday. So we light candles. And being that it's Friday night, so we don't light the candles on Shabbat. So we make sure to light the candles, candle lighting time, which here in Minneapolis is going to be at 7:41 p.m. on Friday. Obviously, you can check your calendars closer to the time. And you see Pesach, Passover. Obviously, we're going to interchange using Pesach, Passover. Is a very special time. And especially that we already are we changed the clock and night starts late. The thing is, Pesach only begins at nightfall. So Friday afternoon is a wonderful day. Friday afternoon, April 15th is a wonderful day, but that's not Pesach. Pesach only begins Friday at nightfall, once it's already the 15th month of Nisan, which here in Minneapolis is at 8:30. So really everything that we do on Friday prior to that time, I'm sure it's meaningful and it's special, but it doesn't yet have the power of a Pesach Seder. So obviously, depending on your setting, depending where you are, one thing is for sure. The number one most important mitzvah of the Seder, the number one most important thing to do at the Seder is to eat approximately a half of the round handmade shmura matzah. Okay? That's, if you do that, you have fulfilled the number one most important mitzvah. But I'll tell you, it's not only a mitzvah. Pesach, Passover, has a very powerful energy. The time of the holiday is very powerful. The Seder has tremendous energy and power, and the most potent element in the whole Seder that has the most potent power is the matzah. And specifically, on the 2 nights of the Seder, the matzah contains 2 different, very powerful spiritual and physical energies. At the first Seder, this is what the Kabbalah teaches us. At the first Seder, the matzah that we eat, the very matzah, whether you are aware of it or not, eating matzah at the first Seder is called, in the language of Kabbalah, food of faith. You know, we all struggle, at least I know for myself. We struggle with strengthening our faith, and ideas that are in front of us that we see are much more tangible than ideas that we have to see with the eye of our mind, right? So matzah nourishes our faith. So that's something we could all use. That's number one. The second night, at the second Seder, the Kabbalah tells us that the matzah contains special energies for health, healing. So these are 2 things that you can't go wrong with. Eating a food that gives us an extra dose of faith, and giving food that gives us an extra dose of health. Now, chances are, if you have a special pill that gives you faith and health, you don't want the generic one. You want the brand name one. You want the best of the best, right? That's why at the Seder itself, we want to make sure that we don't eat any type of matzah that's kosher for Passover. We want to eat the brand name matzah, and that is the handmade shmura matzah. Good news is, if you don't have it yet, number one, they're selling it in Costco. Number 2, we're going to be giving it out. So either you can let me know that you're going to need one. Not only do we give it out, Zayda Jim could tell you last year he himself went to about 15 homes, and he himself also delivered shmura matzah to other people. So those of you that have received it in the past or will receive it this year, no matter what you do, if you're going to family Seder that's earlier in the day, do yourself one favor. After 8:30 p.m. Friday night, eat a half of a handmade shmura matzah. You're guaranteed to have only good things. Okay? Now, if you're in charge of your schedule and you could actually start the Seder after nightfall, that is even better, because in addition to eating matzah, there's all the mitzvahs of the Seder. Eating the matzah, eating the bitter herbs, having the 4 cups of wine, which is the first step of the Seder, is the Kiddush. So what many people do is actually, what they'll do is they'll have the first course of the meal earlier, which is okay. I know everybody thinks that the meal is the most important part of the Seder, but there's a 3-course meal. You don't have to eat all 3 courses then. So you could start with your first course earlier. You could sing some songs, you can tell some stories, and then lift your Kiddush cup at 8:30, and you start then the most important things. Drink down the 4 glasses, save some of the Haggadah, have the matzah, the maror, and that you could do that as well. If you're going to be joining us here at Chabad, I know we're going to be starting after nightfall as well. So that's some of the technical things. Now I want to share with you a beautiful story that I heard this morning, talking about eating matzah. Thank God today we live in a country in a time of abundance. Nobody's telling us you're not allowed to practice. Nobody's stopping us from celebrating. But I heard this story when 1990, with the fall of the Iron Curtain, and close to 1 million Jews immigrated from Russia to Israel. So at the time, obviously, there were many people who were Jews, and many people may have not been Jewish, but they claimed to be Jewish. And it was a big to-do in the chief rabbinate in Israel to be able to figure out who was Jewish, who was not Jewish. So there was this gentleman about 42 years old who came into the office of the chief rabbi of Israel at the time, Rabbi Lau.
Yeah.
And I don't know if at the time he was the chief rabbi of Israel, he was then chief rabbi of Tel Aviv, I don't remember. And this person came with 2 witnesses to testify to his Jewishness, Jewish identity. Who are the 2 people? One was an older gentleman who said, I could testify that I was at this man's bris 42 years ago. I was at this young man's bris. Who was the other person? Was an older chassid who also came out of Russia. And this chassid said, I could tell you not about this man, but about his mother. That in Russia, this gentleman's mother was very lucky. She was a director and administrator of a hospital. Now, being an administrator of a hospital gave you special protection, special opportunities that most people didn't have. What did she have? You see, one of the things that people got in Russia was every day you got 1 cigarette. And it was a very, very precious commodity. Maybe at that time, I guess people didn't understand the harms of smoking, but there was a lot of stress that had to be relieved. And this woman, being that she was administrator of a hospital, she would receive 2 cigarettes a day. And this elder chassid said that what this woman would do is every day she would have 1 cigarette that she smoked, 1 cigarette that she put away in a box. And then a few weeks before Pesach, she would come to me, the chassid says, with a box with 365 cigarettes. She would give them to me, and now she would say, can you please secure for me the matzahs for my family? Imagine what this woman, in the most difficult of times, she gave up 365 cigarettes that could have given her and bought her who knows what, much more than a few delicious matzahs. But she understood the power, the potency, the importance of eating the matzahs on Pesach, that she was ready to sacrifice a cigarette a day, which was much more than the satisfaction of smoking. She was able to barter it for much more than that. So it just helps us appreciate that all we have to do is come to Chabad or go to a Costco and eat a half of a shmura matzah. No one's taking our cigarettes. Nobody's taking anything from us. We definitely, it helps us have a different perspective as to the importance of this most beautiful and special mitzvah. And in fact, I'll tell you, throughout the Rebbe's years of leadership, he had many different campaigns of bringing Judaism to people, right? One of the first was the campaign, the initiative to get people to put on tefillin, women to light Shabbat candles, people to observe kosher, education, Torah study. Before the very first campaign that the Rebbe initiated of spreading a mitzvah was that people should have shmura matzah for the Seder. He actually once used the expression, we should, we should, so to say, conquer the world, that every last Jew in the world should be able to have matzahs. And he would send some of his chassidim to go up to these far-off places in Italy and other places to travel there, to bring 1 package of matzah to 1 Jew and come back before Passover. And there was a philanthropist who told the Rebbe, I would like to donate a large sum of money so that Chabad could build a major building. And I want to support Chabad in Israel. So the Rebbe thanked him, and the Rebbe told him that actually right now it's before Passover, and there's a major operation in bringing shmura matzah to all the Jews in Israel. How about you give the money towards covering those expenses? So the man said, I want to do something honorable, something big, a building. So the Rebbe told him, by me making sure that Jews should eat shmura matzah is something big and something very honorable. I know we're trying to build a building, so we do need money for a building, but that's not right. Obviously, helps us appreciate the value of the matzah at the Seder. With that, with those technicalities, right? We want to prepare, invest the time and effort. After nightfall, try to eat. If you could have the whole Seder after nightfall, that's even better. But if not, at least to have the matzah. The importance, the value, the sacrifices that those before us made in difficult times. Thank God we don't have to make those sacrifices. Just stay up a little bit later after 8:30 to eat half a matzah. We could all manage that, and it's worthwhile. But with that, I want to go now to the overall theme, right? Passover. We're sitting now for 3,333rd time, or 3,334th time since the Jewish people left Egypt. And we're sitting down and we're going to, at this Passover special night at the Seder, we're going to try to relive the Exodus, right? In fact, we say in the book that we recite, what is it called? The book of the Seder? Haggadah. That's right, the Haggadah. We recite in there the following words: in every generation, one has to see themselves as if they left Egypt. Now, I was never in Egypt. I was never a slave. I think neither any of you. Were any of you in Egypt? No. You weren't slaves. Hope not. So what does this mean? And obviously, the answer is Passover at the Seder is there to help us experience freedom, exodus from our own personal Egypt. Egypt is a place, right? And they say in Egypt, what was the river in Egypt? What was it called? The Nile, right? The Nile is not only a state of mind, it's also a place, right? It's not only a place, a state of mind. But Egypt in Hebrew, the word is Mitzrayim. And in Hebrew, the same letters, Mitzrayim, also spell Meitzarim, which means boundaries. So Passover at the Seder, when we're sitting with our family, with our friends, with our community, whoever it is that we're sitting with, gives us the opportunity to become free people, truly free. That there is nothing, not one thing that holds us back from living and fulfilling our fullest potential. Not only boundaries from without. Most of us, our limitations are not necessarily things from the outside that are stopping us from living us to the fullest. Sometimes it is that. But many times it's also limitations from within. And the ideas of the Seder are there to help us become free and rid ourselves of any shackles that hold us back from being free. And now we understand it. There's 15 steps to the Seder. Each one has another message, another idea for how to be a free person. All of the passages in the Haggadah, in addition to telling the story of old, they have relevant messages for today that could teach us how we could become free people. So tonight, what I want to do with you is specifically focus on the Manashtana. Right? The Manashtana are the 4 questions. One of the central themes of the Seder, the central parts of the Seder, are when the children ask the questions of the Manashtana. But what we're going to do tonight is we're not going to learn them as 4 questions, but we're going to learn them as 4 answers. You see, we said that the night of the Seder is what? To experience what? What are we going to experience? Freedom. So the question is, Ma nishtana? What is different? Halayla hazeh, this night, mikol halaylot, from all other nights. I'm going to read the question a little differently. Not why is this night different, but what is going to be different? How is tonight going to be different from all other nights of the year that we will be able to actually be free? If the Seder is all about us becoming free, how is tonight different? And the answer is, tonight we're going to dip twice. Tonight we're going to eat matzah. Tonight we're going to eat the bitter herbs, the maror, and tonight we're going to lean. So instead of seeing it as Why is this night different? And then the follow-up is the 4 questions. Every night we don't dip. Tonight we're dipping. Every night we eat challah, bread. Tonight we're eating matzah. Why is that? Every night we eat all types of vegetables. Tonight we're specifically eating bitter ones. Every night we sit up when we eat, right? Your mother always told you sit like a man, sit straight, right? And now we sit leaning over, to the left actually, right? So instead of seeing them as questions, rather they are the answers. The question was, what's going to be different tonight? How are we going to be free? And the answer is, we're going to dip. We're going to eat matzah. We're going to eat bitter herbs. And we're going to stretch. And these 4 things are 4 ingredients to freedom. 4 ingredients to liberty, to living a life that is incredible, more meaningful, more purposeful, one that could allow us to really live to our fullest potential. So let's unpack these 4 questions now, 4/answers to the question of what will make this night different. Sound good? Okay. So just for reference, here you have on your page in front of you. Sorry to those of you that are online that I don't have it on the computer with me to share it, but just what we have in front of us here are the 4 questions. I will read the first one in the English, right? The first question is, remember the song, right? Right? So on all other nights we don't dip even once, but on this night we dip twice. Now, if you've been to many seders, you might notice that this order seems different than what you're accustomed to. There are 2 different versions of the order. So it's the same for questions. Some people have accustomed the order as one way. This is the bad custom for the order, but the order doesn't matter. So what does this mean? How is tonight going to be different? What can we learn tonight that will change our life if we start it? The answer is, other nights, what doesn't allow us to be free, we don't dip. But tonight, we're going to dip twice, double dipping. What does this mean? So in Hebrew, the word is matbilin. Remember? Ein anu matbilin afilu, right? Matbilin means dip, but also, when a person goes to the mikvah, it's called also tevila, immersion. Matbilin means we immerse, right? We immerse these 2 things. We immerse the vegetable into the salt water, and we immerse the mara, the bitter herbs, into the charoset. I know that many people of my age or younger generation suffer from this much more than people who are wiser than us, but a lack of being present. It is very hard. It's very hard to be fully present when you have in your pocket the whole world vibrating and beeping at you, and you're constantly have all these different things thrown at you. But I'm sure even without the phone, it's hard in today's day and age, right? We live in a world of very fast paced. When you look at old TV shows versus the newer ones, you realize old TV shows, you have the same still shot, right? The same view for a few minutes, right? Today, 2 seconds, right? Nobody has the patience to look at the same thing for more than 2 to 3 seconds. Constantly you have to have an angle here and it changes, right? And the world is really like that. We're a very fast-paced life that we don't have any time to be fully present in the thing we're now. We're moving on, jumping on to the next thing, and from one extreme to another, especially if you're on social media and you start, you're browsing social media, from one post to the next, there's no connection, and your mind is being thrown from some cute video of a dog to some meaningful little statement. Now you don't even have full videos anymore because 10-minute videos are way too long. You have wheels, right? Maximum a minute. Nobody has articles. You have tweets, and that's also old. 100 words the most, right? 120 words. If you have something to say it. Even without the words, you have just the acronyms, right? LOL and all of those. It's a language for itself. But you know what? You can't be free to live your life fully if you're not present in your life. So the first thing we tell us tonight is tonight we are going to dip. We're going to immerse ourselves. Not once, but twice. Why? Because there's two distractions. Number one, the first thing is closing out the outside noise. Tonight, before we sit down at the Seder, we're going to turn off our phones and we're going to leave them away. We're going to turn off the TVs. We're going to turn off the radio. We're going to turn off our computer. We're going to turn off all of the devices that bring noise from the outside that distract us. We're going to turn that all out. That's the first dipping. So that I can actually be in the room that I'm sitting in. And now that I arrived here, I'm going to do a second thing. I'm going to pay attention. Right? Does that ever happen that you speak to him and he's there listening? He says, but his mind is elsewhere?
Selective hearing, yes.
So, yeah. He's not the only husband that does that.
I can't believe that.
You can't believe it. Right? It's we all know that, right? You sit on the phone, you're talking to someone, you say, and then by mistake you said, but they asked you a question and wasn't a good response, right? So it's not enough. Madbilin 2 times. If we want to be able to live life in a free way to the fullest, the first thing is we have to double immerse ourselves. We have to turn off the noise from the outside and then enter whatever it is that we are doing. So if it's a relationship, then we want to be free to be able to succeed in a relationship, then we have to create space and time without any outside distractions. We have to create space and time to be able to have time together. And then to actually be there, to take a second step, put your other foot in and be there with both feet fully, with mind and heart fully there. And the same thing is to anything that we do, whatever it is that we're doing in life, whether it is in a relationship with our loved ones, a spouse, a parent, a child, a friend, a colleague, whether it is our work that we are doing, whether it is studying, Torah study, or any other study that we're doing, whether it is a hobby that we have, or art, or whatever it is that we're doing, if we want to be able to do it fully, without any boundaries, any inhibitions, the first thing that we say is, tonight, we're going to turn off the noise from the outside, and we're going to be present internally with our mind, with our heart, with our soul. All of us is going to be fully invested in whatever it is. So that's the first answer. How is tonight going to be different? What's going to be different tonight? Tonight we're going to be fully present, immersing ourselves doubly, from without and from within. Is it relatable, this idea? Yeah. Can you imagine if we did that, not only at the Seder, but see, that's the gift of Shabbat, right? Mm-hmm. Shabbos, if we give ourselves, even if it's not all of Shabbos, obviously ideally it's all of Shabbos, but any time of Shabbos is that gift to give us the ability to at least dip one time, to turn off all of that technology that just pulls us around, doesn't allow us to be present. And if we can give ourselves that gift to do it for a few minutes every day when we pray, whether it is saying the Shema in the morning or the Shema in the evening, to give ourselves some time to be able to be present in our lives, right? Not only to make a living, but to live. And to live, you need to be able to hear yourself breathing, to hear to be present in your life, not in someone else's life that's being thrown at you through some screen. And then to actually be there, to pay attention, it's hard. It's very hard. I know when it comes to prayer, right? So one thing is, I struggle with this as well, not to have my phone, distracting me. But even that, to try to have a few minutes of actually focusing, and then distractions come in, and that's normal. But then try to enter back into it. And the same thing is with relationships with children or with parents or with whatever it is, to be fully there. Madbilin, dipping once and twice. That's going to change. That's going to have a drastic change. We'll be able to be so much better, so much freer. That's the first answer from the first question of the Manishtan. Any questions there on our friends on Zoom? How are we doing? Are you able to be matbilin? Are you able to be fully immersed in the class, even when you're not in the room, but virtually here?
Yes.
84%.
Yes.
Very good. 84% is pretty good, pretty good.
Yeah.
You need a little more salt water there to dip into. Very good, very good. Okay, so now, with that, we're going to go to our second question, which is our second answer to what's going to make tonight different. So all other nights, what do we eat? What's the second question? All other nights, what do we eat? Whatever we want, right?
Yeah.
We could eat chametz or matzah, right? If you like matzah, good on you. But if you like a good baguette or a bagel or a piece of challah or bread, whatever it is, you can eat whatever you want, right? But tonight, it's going to be different. So meaning the second ingredient to freedom is living a life that is matzah-like. So you may be familiar with this idea. What is the difference? What constitutes chametz? What is it? The ingredients? Is matzah made out of something different than challah? Is it the ingredients that make it chametz? What makes something considered leavened? When does it become leavened?
When it rises.
When it rises. So it could be made out of the same thing. The matzah is made out of flour and water. And you can make the bread out of flour and water. What's the difference? Air. Right? When the dough rises, it doesn't get more content. The air comes into the dough and it becomes fluffy. So chametz is a bread that's full of air, and matzah is a bread that doesn't have air. What do you think that represents in a person? When you say someone's full of hot air, what does that mean? They have a very healthy or unhealthy ego, right? Confidence and ego are two separate things. Pride and ego are two separate things. See, confidence is something positive. Pride is something positive. There's something there. There's content. There's something. Ego is what? Air. It's nothing. There's no substance. It's just a person that inflates themselves. Not because they have what to be all, so to say in Yiddish, there's the expression verblasen, all blown up, right? What is it? Their ego. If we want to live a life that is free, then we have to have a life of matzah. Chametz, that air that comes into us, our ego is our number one enemy. Why is that? For a few reasons. You see, it's fascinating that the actual words in Hebrew of chametz and matzah are almost identical. I'm going to write this down here on my paper. I'm going to spell the word chametz. And I'm going to spell the word matzah. Use the vowels. Can you see this here? The top says chametz and the bottom says matzah. Are you able to see this on the screen from there, or is it not light enough? Is it not dark, sharp enough? I don't know if you can see it. But both chametz and matzah, they both have a mem, right? Both have the letter mem, like the M. They both have the tzaddik, the tza. What's the difference? The chametz has the letter chet, and the matzah has the letter hey. So now what's the difference between the chet and the hey? They're almost identical, right? If you look at this is a chet, and this is a hey. They're almost the same, right? They have the top of the letter, the side of the letter, and the other side. The only difference is the hey has a broken leg, where the chet has a full leg. What's the idea here? The chet of chametz, the chametz which represents the ego being full of air. What happens when a person is so full of themselves? Are they self-critical? Do they have self-awareness? Are they critical, and are they honest with themselves when they do something wrong? Or does their ego not allow them to even admit to themselves that they made a mistake? Right? They're never right. And even if they are, they're not allowed to admit it or even think about it. They're so enamored with themselves, with how amazing they are. They don't even see any flaws. Now, is there such a thing of a person who doesn't make any mistakes? No. Right? You know, the person who said that the people who have that perfect life are the people who I don't know well. Right? There is no such a thing as a perfect person with a perfect life. We are all perfectly imperfect, the way God wants us to be. So what happens if a person doesn't have that ability to be self-aware and self-critical? Will they ever fix their mistakes? If you never admit to your mistakes, you'll never fix them. Chances are, what happens if you have flaws and you never work on them? They just get worse and worse and worse. And you'll never even do the work to do teshuvah to fix it. So you know what happens when a person is a chet? With the chet, there's only one place for them to go. You know where that is? Down. There's only one opening in this word. On the bottom. They can only go down and lower because their ego is holding them as a slave, holding them hostage. They can never fix themselves because they never allow themselves to see their true colors, to see also their flaws. Obviously, this type of person, what type of relationship could they have? There's no room for anyone else. They take up all the room. They're full of air. They've risen so much. There's no place for anyone else. You know, you can fit many more matzahs into a box than a challah, right? The challah is one challah per bag. Matzahs, you got 6 matzahs in a box, you know? Has place for others. So where does the ego take you? Down, lower and lower. The hay of the matzah, on the other hand, what happens if a person starts to fall? They could always jump back up, hold on to that little side, because they have the humility to have the honesty to evaluate where their strengths are and where their weaknesses are, where their qualities are, where their shortcomings are, and to work on those shortcomings, to apologize, to work on themselves. So there's a way up, there's a way out to be able to grow. There's room for others in here. So comes the second question to answer our question of what's going to make tonight different. Tonight we're going to approach life not with chametz, not being full of ear that is blinding us from seeing our flaws, but we're going to have humility to be able to make place for ourselves even, to be able to see ourselves the way we are, to appreciate with confidence and with pride and with dignity and happiness all the wonderful things about us, but also have the self-awareness and the honesty and humility to recognize where we need a fix and to apologize. It's very important, right? Apologies, right? Today was a day of apologies, or yesterday was a big day. Everyone's that he was like Moses. He hit the rock instead of speaking to the rock. But we're not going to go into that right now.
Boo!
I didn't say he was righteous like Moses.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a good line. So, but can you imagine a life where we're fully present? Again, we're going back to relationship. We're fully present in our relationship and we have humility. We're able to say those 2 words that are the hardest thing to say. I'm sorry. Or 3 words. I was wrong. Not you're always right and I'm always wrong. Because that's a meaningless statement that says you're too difficult. I can't please you. Whatever I'll do is not good enough because you're the problem and goodbye. Right? That's not but I was wrong and I will make it up to you. I will fix it. I won't do it again. That's a matzah talking. And that's a relationship that could flourish. That is a life that could grow. That's a place to, in a relationship with God and a relationship with other people, in our work, in our life, in every area. Ego is such a big pharaoh that doesn't let a person live life really. They're hostage to their ego. They always have to be right. You know what happens if you always have to be right? You're wrong most of the time, right? And unfortunately, you have people who suffer. They're hostages 50 years after some little fight that they had. They're still holding grudges, which is horrible because they're right. They'll be miserable, but they'll be right, right? So here we learn tonight, do you want to be free? You want to experience Exodus, free at last? Integrate some matzah into your life. With the chet, you only go down. With the hay, if you fall down, there's a window out there that allows you opportunities to go back up. We're good? Okay. But it's still not Pesach, so if anybody wants another piece of vodka, enjoy it with your humility. Mashallah, how are we doing?
Very good.
Oh, very good. Okay. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and to ask. You're welcome to. And those of you around the table also feel free to unmute yourself and
I got a question.
go ahead.
What's the have you had a shot at tequila before Passover, before the holiday started? Is that treif? Is that bad news?
So I'll tell you that the prohibition of not consuming any chametz, which many times also includes alcohol products because they're grain based, actually doesn't only begin when the holiday begins at nightfall, but actually begins earlier in the day. So in Minneapolis, we could eat chametz or you could drink your tequila until 10:57 a.m. Okay. But if you want to, if you're from those type of people who are hostages to alcohol and you need your alcohol to be able to make it through the day, number one, there's many good programs that could be of help. It's VILA, I know you're not one of them, so that's why I can say that. But by all means, if you want to have a drink in the morning at 10:56 and let it carry you through the afternoon, from a Pesach perspective, it's not a problem. In fact, I'll tell you that when the day before Pesach is Shabbos, right? So then that Shabbos morning, you have to make Kiddush, right? So you drink a glass of wine, and then you have challah, because we don't eat matzah in the morning before Passover. We want it to be fresh. So we have to eat the chametz, but it has to be before the time, like last year, the morning of Pesach before the Seder was Shabbos. The first Seder was Saturday night. So it creates a very interesting, then services don't start at 10. Then services start at 7 in the morning, a quick service. Then you have time to go home and make Kiddush and have some hamotzi before that time of when you have to be stopping to eat. So that's, and if you want to have a l'chaim at that Kiddush as well, by all means, you could. It's a good question. On the other hand, if anybody wants to say al l'chaim, now you're welcome to do so. Do you have anything nearby, Tzvilein? If you don't, you could ride your bike to the kitchen and you could get something. I see he's riding his bike. Okay, we're ready to the third question, to the third answer. This is a very sensitive one that could not easy but important. The next question is, all other nights we eat all types of vegetables, but on this night we eat bitter maror, right? Tonight we specifically bite into that bitter vegetable. We need to taste the bitterness. What does this represent? What are one of the most common things that hold a person from doing great things, from really realizing their potential? What is it? The fear of what?
Failure.
Yeah. Failure is very bitter, right? We're afraid to fail. We're afraid to feel the pain of failure, right? So who was it that said, I'm not afraid that I'll set the bar and I'll and I'll miss it. I'm afraid that I'll set the bar and I'll always hit it, right? Who is it that said something in different words? But the idea, it's not a good thing if you're always setting your bar and you're always meeting your goals. That means you're not making your goals big enough. You're not setting the bar high enough. It's always within reach. What causes us to do that? Because we say, I'm not capable of doing this. I'm not going to, whatever it may be, I'm not going to take on this project because I know I'm not capable of it. I'm going to fail. It won't last more than a day or two. It's going to be a flop, and I don't want to be a failure. I don't want to feel the pain of failure. I don't want to feel the pain of that bitterness. But what happens if you're afraid to take chances? Then you don't grow. We have such a potential. Our souls, which is our true identity, is infinite, right? We're created in the image of God. Just like God is infinite, we have infinite capability. And you see that in life. Yes, obviously there's nature and nurture, the settings that we're born into, the opportunities that we have based on, many different things. But you have people who make it such a major impact on the world. And usually what's the one ingredient that they have? Maybe they got a head start, but there's a lot of people who have head starts, but you know what? That gives them a head start to make it nowhere. Then you have people who really accomplish great things. And what is it? They weren't afraid to take risks. And all of them, have so many stories of these huge successes, whether it's Walt Disney or the what was her name, the author of Harry Potter. Now there's controversy about her. Rawlings. Right, Rawlings, or Steve Jobs, and many people who really had huge success in their fields. Not necessarily every part of their life was successful, but they were told specifically, you will never be your Walt Disney, you'll never be able to do anything in the show business. And they told her, Rawlings, that don't even bother, you're not going to accomplish anything. Right? So many people. And they failed once, a second time, third time, fourth time, and every time they embraced the failure. They bit into that mirror and they felt it, they tasted it, they swallowed it, and they said, okay, that was one step closer to our success. They didn't see the bitterness as being an end of itself. They said, I'm going to embrace failure because I know every time I try too high and I fail, I'm one step closer to trying too high and succeeding. So here comes this third question, which will tell us if we want to be able to be free, to have those wings. We really all have wings that could really allow us to soar. But you know the story with the bird who turns to God and says, God, all of these predators that are trying to come and attack me, they have 4 strong legs that give them the ability to run quickly. I have 2 little fisolach, 2 little bird feet. What can I do with these 2? I'm going to run and run and run. They're going to catch me. I have no way to survive. I can't even make it a few minutes in this planet. So God said, no problem. I hear you. Ta-dam. And out of nowhere, suddenly the bird feels these 2 heavy things that just grew on her. And these wings on the back, these heavy stuff. And she turns to God and says, God, what is wrong with you? I told you I can't run because I have such small feet. So now you gave me more weight. So now I'm even heavier and I'm even slower. And it'll be easier to identify me because I'm bigger and they'll catch me even quicker. And God says, Fegala, that's not something that's holding you down. Those are wings. Spread them and flap your wings and let the wind carry you, and you'll see you can begin to fly and reach heights that you never imagined and your opponents can't reach. And the same thing is with us in life. We all have wings. And as Jews, it's the Torah, the mitzvot that God gives us. That sometimes we turn to them and we say, God, all of these burdens, all of these things that are holding me down from living life, I can't live a life. I need to go to work. I have no time to put on tefillin in the morning. I have no time to stop for prayer. I have no time to stop for Shabbat. I have no time to light candles. I have to do this. I have to do that. And God says, these are the wings. When you involve yourself with them and you do them, they're going to carry you up higher and higher. And your ability, your potential is that you could reach a never-ending height, higher and higher and higher. The only problem is, what are we afraid of? Making that leap, because we're afraid that instead of flying, what are we going to do? We're going to fall, right? So here comes the third question, and tells us we need to be ready to bite into that maror, to embrace the bitterness of taking chances and making risks, even if it's going to be painful, even if we're going to fall and it's going to hurt, even if we're going to fail and it's going to be bitter. Don't worry. That is an ingredient, a secret to being able to living life freer, more fully. That's one part of this. There's also another part of it. And that is, unfortunately, many times when you have people who got hurt emotionally, psychologically, and people, and again, the people that live perfect lives, they say nobody survives childhood unscathed, right? Everybody has it. No matter how perfect of a child you were. Well, here we have young people at this table. So, but we all have incidents in our life that cause us pain. And many times one of the coping mechanisms that people have is they turn off their faucets called emotions. Because they don't want to feel the pain and the hurt and the trauma, they say, let me just stop feeling it. I don't want to feel pain. I'll, so to say, become numb. I'm not going to allow myself to get emotionally attached. Sometimes that happens. People get burnt by other people, take advantage of them in whatever the area could be. And we'll say, never again. I'm not doing this again. I don't want to go there. I don't want to get emotionally attached with anybody because I know how painful it could be. But there's a problem. You see, in your sink, in your kitchen, in the olden days, they had one faucet for hot water and one for cold water. These days, some sinks still have them. So many times you have one faucet and you turn it to the right or to the left, right? What do you have in your house? 2 or 1? One. What do you guys have? 2 or 1?
2.
2. So you're lucky.
You have 1.
You have 1. He used to have 2, and you have 1. It depends which sink.
Yeah. No, they all have 1.
Okay.
You have to think about it for a second.
So, what's the idea? We don't have one faucet that says I can turn off my ability to feel pain, but I'll still keep that faucet the ability to feel love and joy. It's one faucet, it's one knob that turns on all emotions, whether it's good ones or bad ones. So what happens when a person, in a way to cope and not to feel the pain of the negative experiences in their life, what happens? What can't they experience anymore also? Not only no pain, they can't experience any joy. They can't truly experience happiness. They can't experience true love and true bonding and connection because they have disconnected that plug. They have turned off that faucet. Comes the night of the Seder and says, what's going to be different? Man Nishtana, what's going to be different tonight? We're going to live life fully. And even those parts of our life that are hurting, that are painful, certain parts of our heart, certain parts of our psyche that has been abused or taken advantage of, and we're experiencing deep pain and trauma that is really, we don't want to go there. Comes the Seder and says, tonight we're going to bite that maror. Tonight we're going to feel that pain. Tonight we're going to begin a healing process, open up ourselves to have the ability to feel. And yes, when we do turn on that faucet, the first thing that's going to come out is going to be that hot, painful water. It's going to be the painful experiences that we may have gone through. But if we do that, then we'll have the hope and the ability to heal and to later feel the joy, the love, the real connections. So this is, again, two ideas here in the Maror. Practically speaking, the Maror tells us embrace failure, not that you should try to fail. Embrace taking risks that inevitably will lead to failure. But failure on its own is not good. But failure as a step to higher successes, that's amazing. Don't be afraid to experience the bitterness of, maybe my goal is too big. That's amazing. That's good. And the second idea is, emotionally speaking, don't disconnect yourself from being able to truly feel real love, real joy by turning off your faucet of emotion. You can't live a life without a heart. Human beings have intellect and also have emotions. And if we want to live life, like we said, matbilin, being fully immersed, it means not only with our mind, but also with our heart, fully present in the lives of the people around us and our own. And that means being able to feel raw, real emotions, even if it means having to deal with the negative, with the pain, because then we'll also be able to experience the joy and the love and the happiness. And this leads us to our fourth and final question / answer. That is, Rabbi Shmuley, Rabbi Haggadah, this is all beautiful. You're telling me that if I want to live free, I have to be fully immersed. I have to create times when I turn off my phone and my TV, and if you have radio still, whatever it is, and your computer, and be fully present and even focus. And you're telling me that I could be humble and get rid of my ego, and telling me that I should even be ready to take chances and fail, and then when they succeed, I'd be ready to experience pain. It's all fine and good, but that's not me. I'm not holding that up. I'm not capable of that. I think I'm just going to remain a slave. Comes the fourth question and says, all night we sit straight, but tonight we lean. Do you remember, you ever, before you exercise, you stretch, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the ways of stretching is you keep your legs straight and you see if you could bend down and touch your toes, right? Now, I'm one of those people that are not so good at that because I bend down and my hands past my knees, yeah, but they don't come close to my toes. So what happens if you bend down and you can't touch your toes? What's the best way to be able to do it?
Bend your knees.
Bend your knees. Yeah. What's the best way to be able to, without cheating, to be able to start touching your toes? You know what it is? Do it again.
Sure.
And again.
Sure.
And now don't do it all in one night, because the next day you'll be a Charlie horse and your back is going to kill you. That I also experienced that once. But you know what you do if you see that you're not flexible and you can't stretch as much? You know what you should do? Stretch again and again and again and again, and you'll see that you have that within you. You're just a little stiff. Or if you want to lift something and your muscles aren't strong enough, what should you do? Flex those muscles. Use those muscles. You're going to build the strength. So all nights of the year we sit straight. We say, this is my ability. This is the space that I take up. This is what I could reach. Tonight, at the end of the questions, we say, you think you can't be fully immersed. You think you can't find a way to control your usage of your time and social media, etc. And you think you have no way to battle your ego and you're not ready to take risks and fail and to feel pain. Well, tonight is a night of stretching. You have that ability, you're just stiff. You haven't tried it out. Stretch, lean, see, take up more space. Realize you could reach further than you think you can. Right now, when you sit straight, you can only reach to there. Lean over. You'll see you can reach more. And if you can't do it tonight, try again the next day and every day. Because our souls are so capable. We have those muscles. They may be underdeveloped. We just have to use them. Take that leap, stretch your abilities, your horizons. Realize that you have the ability to do it. And with that, there's no more answers. I can't. Try. I can't reach my toes. Try. You'll see. You'll be able to. Now you can. Try again, and again, and again, and again. And I think this is really obviously this is one part of the Seder is the Manashtana, but this covers so much of the Seder. This covers the matzah. The many times that we eat the matzah. This covers the maror, all the bitterness that we're experiencing. It's not about only experiencing the pain that went, for us to be able to experience the pain in our own lives and to be open to facing the pain, being open to face the failure. And obviously that being present in the lives of the people around us and our own lives. And most importantly, to realize that we have the ability to do all of it. We just have to stretch. We just have to try, and we'll see we can do it. So with that, dear friends, I want to wish all of us, that when it comes Pesach this year, we shouldn't only enjoy the physical taste of the matzah, but we should be able to enjoy the energy of the matzah, to be able to free ourselves of, if it is ego, and to experience the freedom of humility, freedom of honesty, freedom of being fully present, the freedom of being able to take risks, the freedom to be able to experience true joy and love and happiness, and the freedom of stretching and seeing that we are capable of being free. L'chaim.
L'chaim. Nice job, sir.
Now we just have to get started. This is just the talk. Now we have to start the work of actually implementing. So we have a few weeks till Pesach to prepare. And then Pesach itself, the energy itself is really powerful. And the more we think and prepare for it, the more we'll get to experience it. So with that, I'm going to end now our live feed. Thank you to all those who joined us there. I'm also going to stop the recording.